In 2008, Wayne Swan warned of a tough budget. 2009, he warned of a tough budget. 2010, he warned of a tough budget. 2011, he's warned of a tough budget. And this year, he's warned again of a tough budget. This is Groundhog Day. Wayne Swan keeps warning of a tough budget, but he never actually delivers one. And what that does is it leaves Australians confused about what the government wants to do with the economy and do with the budget. It's not good enough.
What about these cuts that he's outlining?
We'll wait and see. Over previous budgets, Wayne Swan has had lots of speculation about budget cuts. Last year it was massive cuts to health and medical research. This year, Wayne Swan is warning again of cuts, but he doesn't want to speculate. Well, he's usually the one that delivers all the leaks to the media, and then when his colleagues find out about the cuts, he ends up dumping them. You can't trust Wayne Swan at his word. Every year he promises a tough budget. Every year the budget deficit just gets bigger, and Australians pay a big price for it. There's one thing that we agree with the government on, that is it's time to have a budget surplus. The difference is they'll promise it and never deliver it. Coalition will always deliver a surplus.
What if we do see a surplus in May though?
You won't see a surplus in May. You'll see that the deficit this year is actually bigger. 18 months ago it was originally $12 billion deficit. 12 months ago, $22 billion deficit. 6 months ago, a $37 billion deficit. Now they're talking of a deficit well over $40 billion in the current year. In May, Wayne Swan may promise a budget surplus, but in a year and a half's time, I bet he would not have delivered a budget surplus.
What about his comments that to his critics, including the Coalition, that Australia is a low productivity economy?
We've been warning about this for ages. Martin Ferguson, the Minister for Resources, is completely at odds with the Treasurer. Martin Ferguson said that people should be alarmed about the low productivity of Australia. Wayne Swan says there's nothing to worry about. Australia has relatively high productivity compared with other countries. They can't have it both ways. It just illustrates the economic confusion of the Labor Party.
Is there anything that he said this morning in the business meeting that you actually agree with him on?
We agree that the government should deliver a surplus. We just don't believe they will.
What should be put in place so that they do deliver a surplus?
They've got to cut back on expenditure. They can't simply always look to ride a wave of increased taxation. That's what Labor does. Its expenditure levels as a percentage of GDP are well above the last year of the Howard government. And that's the benchmark. They like to compare themselves with the Howard government. Well, the last year of the Howard government, which they called a spendthrift government, had a lower percentage of expenditure to GDP than Labor has either this year or currently in any of its forward 4 years of expenditure. So look at what Labor does, not what they say. Bottom line here is they're promising to deliver a surplus. They're not doing it by cutting their own cloth. They're doing it by asking Australians to cut their own cloth by increasing taxes.
He's ruled out a slash and burn cut to spending. But he said that some programs will be cut off. So, is that not making cuts to expenditure?
Well, he's got to have a turnaround the budget of at least $40 billion to deliver a surplus. Now, already most of that is expected to come from increased taxation. It's not coming from a cut in government expenditure. Each year the government spends around $360 billion. Now, this government has no heart and soul for a cutback in its own expenditure. It asks Australians to live within its means. This government does not live within its means. And it may well promise a budget surplus come May, but it won't actually deliver a budget surplus when the results are known in September of 2013.
I think the taxpayers, though, would maybe forgive a bit of a deficit considering tough times economically around the world. Australia's still doing pretty all right.
I don't think Australian taxpayers will forgive a government that keeps making promises but never delivers. And when it does make a promise, usually it breaks the promise and goes in the opposite direction. You can't trust Labor at its word. We're living Groundhog Day again. Again, they're promising a tough budget. Again, it won't be delivered. They can promise all they want. They can promise a surplus, they can promise cutbacks. They won't actually deliver. Thanks very much.